Hello class, and welcome to MUS 2673, which is the History and Styles of Popular Music. My name is Professor Thomas Yi. You can refer to me as Professor Yi or Dr. Yi, either is fine, and you can use he, him pronouns for me as well. I am a composer and music theorist who's been researching into different styles of popular music. Specifically, video game music is actually my core research specialty, although this class will be much broader than that. And I'm heading up the development of the Bachelor of Arts in Commercial and Digital Music in the UTSA School of Music. So that's a little bit about me and why I'm here teaching this class. But let's talk a little bit about you and about this class. You're taking this class from a wide variety of majors, and I'm very fascinated in hearing what kind of backgrounds we have approaching the subject of popular music. We all listen to popular music in some form, even if it's just walking through the mall or through a store and hearing it being played on the radio or on Spotify. Let's unpack that term popular music a little bit. Now, that might be a confusing term to you, or maybe one that you've never heard before. Sometimes when I've referred to this in past iterations of the course, students have been confused and thought I was referring to music that charted high on the Billboard charts, or that sold platinum, or something like that. Popular music is a bit of an unfortunate term in my discipline, which is that it primarily exists to set it as distinct from classical music, or sort of like the European and American classical orchestral and operatic tradition. So things like Ludwig van Beethoven, the Fifth Symphony, or Rachmaninoff, things of that nature that you might go to a concert hall to see. Now, myself, I have a training in classical music from my doctorate as a composer, and most of my colleagues here at the School of Music also teach in sort of a classical music tradition. And so we have this rather unfortunate term of popular music to just distinguish popular music from classical. Now, I'm setting those presuppositions out firsthand to say you might not really be thinking in those lines at all. To you, popular music, things like artists like Beyonce or Taylor Swift, or hip-hop artists like Kendrick Lamar and Drake, might just be the music that you listen to and then categorized into different genres. So there's not really a need for you to separate it off as popular music. But it's in the course title, so I thought I would explain what that distinction is about. Also in the course title, we have History and Styles of Popular Music. So this sets forth our goal in two ways, to talk about the history and different styles of popular music. So first, let's talk about history. This is a course that focuses on giving you a broad overview of the history of popular music from roughly the 1920s to the present. In other words, you get about a century's worth of music. This era is defined by being recorded music, meaning the technology had allowed the music to be recorded through microphones onto vinyl records primarily, eventually CDs and cassette tapes, and now with streaming. And this allowed for a new widespread dissemination of music more than ever before, as well as the ability to hear specific artists give their rendition or their performance of a song, whereas before sheet music might have just said how the song goes, but not how someone else might have performed it. Now, because the period that we're covering is so broad, we're going to be moving at a quick lightning pace, roughly a week per decade, until we reach a point at about the 1980s where we'll stripe through from then to the present multiple times, but following a different genre thread each time. This will allow us to sort of connect the through lines in the latter part from the 80s to the present, and see how earlier music has arisen in the music that we listen to today. One thing that I'm quite proud of in how we've reframed this course to be history and styles of popular music rather than just rock music is that we can be maximally inclusive with the kinds of popular music styles that we included. Just as one obvious example, before the history and styles of rock music didn't really cover hip-hop or rap much at all, which I found was a very massive oversight given how much of a huge presence hip-hop and rap are today. So now the history and styles of popular music can cover both roughly evenly. I've also really made it my goal to highlight the diversity that is present in popular music history. So this can be diversity along a number of different factors, from queer sexuality to highlighting artists of color. Like this week, Rosetta Tharpe is one that we're really highlighting as both a woman artist and an artist of color. And we can frame the discussion going beyond sort of a European, usually British and American focus to encompass global voices, especially in the last week where we'll broaden out the discussion to look at the influence of rock and hip-hop worldwide, especially in East Asia, as we end with K-pop and J-pop. Something that feels especially salient at this point in time, as we've just had a summer of K-pop hunters craze, and it's really topping charts on the Billboard charts in all sorts of ways. All that is to say, if you have a favorite artist or a favorite genre of music, probably we will touch on it at some point in the course, or if we don't, we'll be touching on something adjacent to it that would probably be related to feeding into it. So just hold on to your hat, and we'll probably get to music that lands close to the music that you enjoy listening to. Now let me talk a little bit about how the course is organized from week to week, because this is an online asynchronous course. We have no set meeting times and no in-person meetings. This can be completed entirely at your own pace and scheduling convenience, and done entirely through the modules in Canvas. The course's modules run week by week, meaning that they'll be posted on Monday morning at 12 a.m., so as soon as Monday starts, and will run until 11:59 on Sunday, when they'll be due. They'll still be available for you to complete afterwards late if you need to, but you'll receive a penalty for any late work completed in this way. Also, you'll have to complete each module sequentially, so do make sure that you stay apace and current with each module as it releases, because you'll need to complete like week 1 before you can go on to week 2, before you can go on to week 3, and this is to make sure you have the proper understanding that is scaffolded one topic on another to understand later topics. Now, most of the course's material will be delivered via video lectures through a technology called PlayPosit. PlayPosit is basically a video hosting service that allows me to add in interactions at strategic points during the video. So you'll open up the video and start watching through. Some of the students like watching through at a greater speed, like maybe 1.2 or 1.5 times speed, as long as you're still comprehending all the information. And you're listening through from start to finish. At certain points during the video, you'll be interrupted with an interaction, which is basically just a question to check how you've been listening and understanding the material. So you'll attempt that question, which could be multiple choice or a fill in the blank, usually with a matching table if it's a fill in the blank. And then once you've answered the question, it will let you proceed on with the rest of the video. You want to make sure you've answered all the interactions that are shown with little dots, because that's how you're graded for completing the module, for getting those answers correct. Now, if that makes you anxious and just seems like a lot of pop quizzing, don't worry. I've given you 2 attempts to complete every interaction question. So that means if you get up to the question, it pops up, and you look at the question and think, whoa, I don't remember talking about that. That seems a little confusing. Don't worry, just give it your best shot. If you don't get it correct, it'll let you know. And then you can rewind the video to make sure you go back and then find out what it was talking about. Re-listen until you have a good understanding of what the right answer probably is. Go back up to the interaction again, and then put in the right answer the second time. Sometimes I think students don't know that they can back up in the video once they've hit an interaction, so once they get it wrong the first time, they'll just put in another answer and get it maybe wrong again. So I'm telling you this so that once that happens to you, you can remember to back up, listen to the material again, make sure you find the right answer and note it down, and then get back up to the question to answer correctly. Now, another important part of the course is the video discussions. These will be short 1 or 2, maybe 3-minute responses that you'll have, usually after listening to a Spotify playlist and responding to the music that you're listening to. So it's mostly a way for me to assess how you're listening to the music in terms of the material and the styles that we've been learning about. Now, for these discussion groups, you've been broken into 10 groups of around 10 students each, which will be your smaller discussion cohort for the remainder of the semester, kind of like a class within a class. And so it gives you an opportunity to get to know your classmates better, even though this is a big online synchronous course with 100 students in it. Now, the first video discussion is this week, so you'll get a chance to kind of introduce yourself and get to meet your group mates and share some general thoughts about popular music artists and which one you think is the greatest. Now, what I recommend doing strongly when you complete these is create an outline ahead of time that will help you stay on track to cover the points that you want to mention in your response within the 1 to 3 minute time limit. A lot of times I get students who will kind of meander and ramble, have a lot of ums, and kind of before you know it, it's like 2.5 minutes and they try to wrap up really quickly at the end. So try not to do that. Maybe have a rehearsal ahead of time so you can get some of the nervous energy out, and then follow your outline so you can just say, these are my observations, 1, 2, 3, and going down. And I'll be grading these video discussions based on 3 important criteria. First is content, how you show mastery of understanding the material that we've talked about so far in the week's videos and in the readings. And here I'm primarily interested in getting your honest thoughts and reflections, even if it's a little less polished in terms of the language. I can definitely tell when someone's talking from the heart about what you've heard, rather than trying to offer up kind of a canned response that may or may not have been generated by AI. And then the third criteria for these video discussions is engagement. Now, what I mean by this is something very specific. It's engaging your other group mates beyond just posting your own post. So a lot of times students don't realize that this is part of the grade and it suffers for it. It's worth 20% of each video discussion. That means that after you've given your own post, you have usually 2 days after everyone's post is in to give comments on your group mate's post. And I do ask you to listen through all of them and reply in kind. So this way we generate a lively and healthy discussion between you and the rest of your group mates. That way you're not just having sort of your own narrow and myopic opinion, but you can really be informed by what the rest of your group mates are saying on a topic. All right, now that leaves us with one more important policy discussion for the semester, and that is the use of artificial intelligence. Now, this is a discussion that I imagine many of your classes, especially these broad general education ones, are having with you right now. And so I'm here to tell you that in general, I am more AI accepting and AI affirming than many of my faculty peers and your other professors are. There are areas where I think AI can be used productively to help you to learn, help you to study, maybe to polish your writing. But I want to be very clear about what is acceptable and not acceptable use of generative AI in this course. Please refer to the simple syllabus that has a detailed list of all the ways that it is acceptable or not acceptable to use. Later on in the course, when we get to assigning our projects, the creative project for the artist profile and then your song analysis, I'll put out another video that models ways that you can use AI to coach your own writing and maybe polish up some grammatical or spelling errors that you might have. I also don't mind if you use it to help you study and review, basically to make flashcards or review podcasts with some of the notes that you've taken to help you just remember what it is that you've learned. So what I mean by that is even the most advanced AI at this point in time can't listen back to a piece of music and understand its qualities the way that I'm asking you to do in this course, to listen closely and to analyze it using terminology to help put some words to what we're hearing. It can try to do that, and sometimes students will say, well, be sure to use these terms, but what you get back in results usually has little to no relation to the actual music that we heard and that it's supposed to be responding to. You, as a human being, with these 2 ears on your head, are equipped with all the hardware you need to complete these close listening assignments, and you're infinitely better equipped for it than any AI will ever be. So let me just say clearly, you are prohibited from using any generative AI to substitute for the activity of listening to the music and responding to it and analyzing it the way that I'm asking you to do. And moreover, it will be counterproductive for you to do so, as you will do better at it than the AI ever could. Now, I understand how tempting it is to use AI to shortcut these written assignments, which is part of why for the video discussions, we're doing it spoken, so it takes some of the pressure off. And in general, I'm going to be de-emphasizing having sort of this polished academic prose writing this semester. This is not a writing-intensive class, and so my primary purpose this semester is not to try to teach you academic writing or citation or proper grammar. So as your professor this semester, trust me when I say I'm much more interested in hearing your genuine thoughts and responses, even if they're sort of in a rougher, more unpolished form in terms of the writing, than any sort of more polished but sandblasted and soulless version of reflection that AI can give, which doesn't truly respond to the music that we're supposed to be listening to this semester. So while generative AI's writing might look nice on the surface, and you can use it productively in a way to sort of polish up your writing, which I'll show you later in the semester, it will not help you to learn the core skills and factors that we're learning to listen to in this class. Things like melody, harmony, timbre, texture, these important musical concepts that will help you to better understand the musical styles that we listen to throughout this course. With those brief overview remarks out of the way, I'll go ahead and turn you loose in the Week 1 modules to start getting used to doing your Play Pause It modules, as well as your first video discussion. You'll be learning some materials on the elements of music, which will be very important for all subsequent discussions, as well as about the origins of rock and roll music. And with that, welcome to the History and Styles of Popular Music. I will sign off and say bye-bye for now.